There are 4 important steps to finally thinking in English. And in this lesson, I'm going to give you those 4 steps. Are you ready? Well then, let's jump right in. Step number 1, perception. Hearing and receiving English. Perception is the very important step that I want to start with. This is when your brain first hears or sees English. Your brain needs to get used to English sounds and patterns. This is very important for thinking in English automatically. Here's the easiest way to understand this first step. Think about a child, a baby, adorable, so cute, not able to say anything, but constantly being exposed to a language, constantly hearing its mother, its father, its siblings, aunts, uncles speak to it in this language. It doesn't really understand fully, but it's constantly being inundated with the language. This is step number 1, perception. Hearing the language over and over and over again. So why is this step, the first step, so important for you as you're trying to train your brain to think in English? Reason number 1, your brain gets used to English. Like I was explaining with the little child, the baby, so adorable, constantly hearing the language being spoken. When you hear English directly, your brain creates special pathways just for English. For example, maybe you are Haitian, maybe you are Italian, so you speak Italian, or you speak Creole or French. You have different pathways in your brain already for your amazing mother tongue. But now your brain has to create more pathways for English. And the more you hear English, the more pathways will be created in your brain. You don't need your native language anymore when you have the pathways ready and set for English. Reason number 2, why this step is so important. You learn English rhythm. Again, I'm going to reference the baby again. The baby is hearing all of this English being spoken around it. It's also hearing the different paces and rhythm, how people speak. Your brain starts to expect English sounds and patterns. Perception, again, hearing the English. Oh, the last time this word was said, the next word was this. Or the last time this expression was used, this was next. Your brain is creating these patterns as well. And it makes it easier to understand without translating. This is why it's so important to hear tons and tons of English being spoken. Step number 1, perception. Here's the 3rd reason. You react faster. Good listening skills remove the small pause where translation usually happens. You can think in English right away. So the more you implement step number 1, perception, allowing yourself to hear more English, just take it in like a baby. Again, taking in the language all throughout the day. Remember when I was studying Korean, I was level 1. I couldn't speak Korean well. I knew the basics, right? But I would allow myself to be exposed to perceive Korean all throughout the day. I would play the news in the background. I would watch different Korean cooking programs. They were playing in the background. I couldn't understand everything, but step 1 is all about perception. I was creating the pathways in my brain for the language. We're talking about helping you stop translating and finally think in English. So how can you do this? How can you implement step number 1, the perception step? I want to give you 5 ways to improve your English perception. Step number 1. Here is way number 1. Copy different English accents. As you're listening to all this English, you're going to hear different accents. Everyone doesn't sound like me, your teacher, Teacher Tiffany. Everyone doesn't have the same accent. So I want you to listen to American accents, British accents, Australian accents, speakers using this accent. Repeat what they say and focus on their rhythm and stress patterns. You can repeat after me. You can pause this lesson and try to repeat after me, but I want you to listen to different accents. This is step number one, your perception. Hearing as much as possible in order to create those pathways in your brain. Here's the second way you can finally implement this first step. The second application, the way to help you start perceiving more English, is to listen to English in the background. A few moments ago, I said when I was studying Korean in South Korea, I lived there for 10 years, I would play it in the background. I was level 1. My English was perfect. My Korean was not good. I would be playing Korean in the background. This is important. So play English podcasts or videos while you do other things, washing the dishes, cleaning your room, drawing a picture, whatever you're doing, play it in the background. Even when you're at work, play it in the background. Here's the key. Use slightly faster speeds, like 1.25x. This trains your ear. I mentioned this in one of our previous lessons about the importance of playing things just a bit faster to train your ear. This is the second way you can improve. Again, perception. What about this application? Practice hearing similar sounds. Work on hearing the difference between similar English sounds like ship and sheep in fast speech. For example, I can say the ship had many sheep on it. Ship, sheep. You want to train your ear to hear the difference, right? To hear, hey, these sound similar, but there are subtle differences. Remember, step one is all about perception, hearing as much English as possible. And part of hearing is deciphering the differences. Here's another way you can improve this step. Make English your default language. Change your phone, change your computer, change your social media all into English. Make English the normal language around you. Remember, you're trying to train your brain to think in English. Step one, perception. Constantly put English in, and you will stop translating. Here's another way for you to implement step one. Listen to multiple English sources. Watch English videos with English subtitles while listening to English music, watching and listening to English podcasts at the same time. It's going to seem like confusion at first, but you're watching an English video, in the background there's English music playing, and then maybe somewhere on the left there's a podcast playing. Think about it. Your native language, amazing. French, Spanish, Creole, Spanish, I said Spanish already. What's another one? Italian? Whatever your language might be. You're constantly hearing many things throughout the day at the same time in that language. You have to do the same thing, but in English. Step number one is all about perception, allowing your brain to take in, to hear more English, to create those pathways. Are you ready now for step number two? Yes, my friend. Step number two. Now it's about comprehension. Understanding English directly. Step number two is comprehension. Let me explain. This is where your brain understands what the English words mean. The goal is to understand English concepts directly in English, not by translating them to your native language first. I'm going to go back to my initial analogy of the baby, because even in your country, babies also learn the same way. Step one, again, perception, hearing all of the language being used around them. Then something happens where the baby starts to comprehend. Wait a minute, water, that word is not just random. When mommy says water, I see this clear liquid in a glass. Or I see mommy put this clear liquid in my bottle. Ah, this is water. Comprehension is starting to happen. Again, for you trying to train your brain to think in English, step two is about comprehension. You've already put the English in. Perception. Now comprehension, we have to understand what the words mean without translating them. We need them to be connected to only English. So, let me give you some reasons why this is so important, this step. Why direct comprehension prevents translation. Number one, the reason is you connect ideas in English. Remember I said the baby hears water and sees this clear liquid. There's the connection, right? You connect ideas in English. When you understand English words through other English words, you don't need your native language to explain them. When you understand English words by connecting them to other English words, you won't need to translate. Reason number two, why this is so important, why direct comprehension prevents translation. You understand English specific meanings. Some English ideas don't translate or exist in other languages. Direct understanding captures these special meanings. Let me break this down. When I was studying Korean, there were certain concepts or ideas, words, expressions that I had never been exposed to. They did not and they do not exist in English. So even now when I am trying to explain a Korean phrase, a Korean word to one of my American friends, it's tricky because we don't have that concept in English. So this is why it's so important as you're learning English, my friend, and you're trying to think in English without translating, you need to learn things in English and explain them using English because some things may not exist in your language. Here's the third reason. You think faster. Understanding directly in English is much faster than translating back and forth. And I'm smiling because this happened just a few weeks ago. I was on the phone with my friend, my Korean friend called me and we were talking and we go back and forth between English and Korean. And she said something in Korean and she's like, wait, Tiff, what is that in English? And I immediately understood what she said in Korean. But when she asked me to translate it into English, I paused and I was like, because that pathway was not in my brain. That pathway was only for Korean. Now I was trying to dissect a Korean pathway in my brain and connect it to an English pathway that had never been created. You see what's happening, right? I understood directly, immediately in Korean. When she asked me to translate it to English, that's where the pausing happened. That's where the confusion happened. We're trying to eliminate that. You don't want to translate, you want to understand directly in the language you are learning. You got it? Excellent. All right, so how can you do this? How can you actually put this into practice? Our practical application for step 2, the comprehension. 5 ways to improve direct English comprehension. So the first thing you can do is learn new words in English only. I'm going to say it again, my friend. Learn new words in English only. When you learn new vocabulary, connect it to English words and pictures you already know. Never translate. I remember being in class teaching my students, and I would see them take out their dictionary and try to translate. I teach them a word in English and they try to translate it to Korean. Sometimes I would allow it depending on the complexity of the word. Other times I would say, no. Think about it. How can you describe or explain this word in English without using Korean? You want to try to learn a word using words you already know. This is the first method. Trying to put this into practice for step 2, comprehension. The second thing you can do, the second application, is to use English dictionaries only. Listen, when I'm telling you, my friend, I understand your challenge right now. I understand your desire to only think in English. The same thing happened to me when I was studying Korean. I wanted to only think in Korean. I wanted to stop translating, and I followed these steps. I came to understand how the human brain works, and I followed these applications. Number 2, again, use English dictionaries only. When you don't know a word, look it up in an English dictionary, not an English-French dictionary, not an English-Spanish dictionary. Look it up in an English dictionary and explain new words using English you already know. Remember in class, playing a game / doing an activity with my students where I would have one student see a word in English, and then he or she would have to explain the word to her teammates or to his teammates and get them to guess the word, but they could only use English to explain the word. It helped them improve their vocabulary. It helped them think in English. So for you, my friend, use English dictionaries only. Number 3, applying, trying to master this second step of comprehension. Guess meaning from context. When reading something, try to understand unknown words from the situation. Don't look up every word immediately. As you're reading something, maybe you're reading an article, maybe you're on a website reading a blog post, you're going to encounter words that you don't know. Don't panic. Don't immediately pull out your dictionary. Guess. All right, the first 2 sentences we're talking about this. Then we have this third sentence with a word I don't know. What could this possibly mean? Trust your judgment. Trust yourself. Just guess, attempt, try to guess the meaning based on the context. Again, training yourself to think in English. Number 4, read different types of English. In one of our previous lessons, I told you the difference between book English and real English. Book English is still grammatically correct. It's just a different way of speaking, right? It sounds more professional, right? So you want to read different types of English. Read English articles about science, history, business, and culture. This builds your English knowledge in many areas. Change it up. You're watching videos, you're listening to podcasts, and you're reading about a myriad of different topics. This is going to help you think in English. Why? Well, what's step 1? Yes, you got it. Perception. For those listening, sorry, that clap was loud. You perceiving more, step 1, taking it all in. Step 2, comprehension. Now it's in there and your brain is working, making these connections. You learned about science and you learned about history and you have your vocabulary database being built and you're connecting the English pathways. And what about this one? Think in English daily. That's right, daily. Describe your day, your feelings, your thoughts to yourself in English. Practice explaining everything in English. Today I talked to my friend. We talked about, or we reminisced about, being back in high school or back in college years ago. How did I feel? I felt happy. What else did I feel? Talk about your emotions. Describe your day. Express your day in English. Training your body, training your brain specifically to think in English. Step 2 is yes, comprehension. It's kind of a cheat. It's on the screen, right? Step 1, perception. Step 2, comprehension. Now we start getting even deeper, getting into step number 3. Step number 3 is decision making. Choosing how to respond in English. Step number 3 is decision making. So let me explain. Your brain decides now how to respond to what you heard. Advanced English speakers like you, come on, claim it, claim it. Advanced English speakers like you make these decisions using English social rules and communication styles, not their native culture's way of communicating. This is when we're getting deep. Step 1, perception, hearing a lot of English. Step 2, comprehension. You're understanding the meanings, connecting to what you already have. Now decision making. How do I use what I have in my brain? I have to use it based on what I've seen, what I've observed other native English speakers do, how they've spoken based on their culture, not on my own culture. This is when it gets very important. We're still talking about thinking in English and bringing everything out. Step 3. So there are 3 reasons why this is so important. Before we get to the reasons, I want to remind you, my goal is to help you achieve your English goals. And I hope you're enjoying this lesson. If you want to continue studying with me, remember I have a course just for you called the 365-Day English Study Plan. Every day of the year, a lesson prepared already for you. If you want to enroll in the course, go to speakenglishwithtiffani.com/365plan. The link is in the description and I would love for you to join me and I want to take you to the next level. So now We're still talking about thinking in English. We're on step 3, decision making. Here's the first reason. The first reason why English style decisions stop translation. You're making a decision on how you want to use what has been put in and comprehended. Number 1, you learn English social rules. Understanding how English speakers communicate helps you respond naturally without translating your culture's communication style. For example, when I was learning Korean, there were certain communication styles that did not exist in English, in American culture. I had to learn how to speak based on Korean culture. You, my friend, have to learn how to speak English based on American culture, right? Because I'm an American and I'm teaching you American English. So again, you learn English social rules, your decision making, how you're going to use what's inside. Here is the second reason. The second reason is you handle emotions in English. You learn to express feelings and reactions using English patterns, not by translating emotions from your native language. We're still talking about thinking in English. You have all the information in that you've heard, perception. Now you've comprehended step 2, step 3, decision making. I have all this information. I've watched native English speakers, and when they feel this emotion, this is the word they use. When they're feeling this emotion, this is the expression they use. I'm making the decision because I'm processing it in my brain. I want to use this because I've seen Americans do this and use this. This is my decision. This is what I'm going to use. Thinking in English in order to speak English fluently. Third reason, you choose English communication styles. You learn when to be direct, when to be formal, or casual in English without thinking about how your native language handles these situations. When you've exposed yourself, perception, to so many different situations where English speakers are discussing things, then you've comprehended the meaning and now you're saying, in this situation, this is how they speak. In this situation, this is the information or the words they would use. You don't have to think about your native language. You're thinking only in English. How can you put this into practice? Here's the first way. Again, 5 ways to improve English decision making. You have perception, you have comprehension, now we have decision making. How can you do this better? Again, thinking in English, these processes, these steps. First, record yourself in imaginary conversations. Create scenarios, meeting new people, handling complaints, giving presentations, and record yourself responding naturally in English. Remember, your brain is amazing. You're training yourself to think in English. You're practicing these situations so that when they actually happen, your brain is like, we've done this before. We have this pathway in the brain. We've done this before. We've recorded this, and now it's the real life situation. So record yourself in imaginary conversations because as you're practicing, as you're recording yourself, you're making decisions. Here's the second application. Develop your English personality. Notice that you might communicate slightly differently in English. Develop this English speaking you with appropriate humor and social behaviors. And I want to add a caveat to this. The more comfortable you become, the more your real self will come out. So in the beginning, you're just going to be emulating or copying what you see. But you are an individual. You are amazing and you have your own ideas, your own style of making jokes or your own style of speaking. The more confident you become in your ability to think in English, to read a situation, to understand what the vibe is, the more yourself, the more your true self will come out. But in the beginning, you're just copying what you're seeing, all right? Here's the third way. Practice difficult conversations. Role play job interviews, disagreements, and important discussions entirely in English. Remember, you're trying to train your brain to think in English. In order for you to train yourself properly, you have to practice. Practice these situations. Focus on choosing the right tone and approach. I'm not going to be like this if I'm giving a presentation. I'm going to be more poised, composed. Practice this, training your brain to think in English so when it happens in real life, you already have the pathways. Here's another method. Argue both sides of complex topics. Man, you're thinking ahead. If you're going to discuss a topic, you have your own opinion, but we're thinking in English. Hey, what are they going to say? Let me think about the opposite position. Choose controversial topics, it's okay, and record yourself presenting arguments for both sides in English. This develops English reasoning patterns. Your brain is amazing. We're trying to retrain your brain to think in English. If I were to ask you a question and told you you could answer in your native language, no problem at all. Why? You've spent years, decades creating these pathways in your brain, and now you're trying to do it in English. Here's the fifth way. Study how native speakers actually communicate. Watch how English speakers handle difficult situations, give feedback, and express disagreement. Copy these patterns. Hey, when they're having a disagreement, I noticed that they'll restate what the person says before they give their opinion, before they give their idea. Thinking in English is not just about putting the information in. Number one, perception. It's about number two, step two, comprehending, understanding, and then step three, decision making. What am I doing with this information in my brain? I'm watching Americans, I'm watching native speakers use this information in this way. I'm deciding to use it that way as well. Thinking in English, which leads us to step number four. This is so powerful. Again, training yourself to think in English. Step number four. Step number four is another important step. And again, I want you to remember, in order for you to think in English, you have to make sure you are mastering each step. Step one, again, real quick, perception. Step two, comprehension. Step three, decision making. Now we have step four, language formulation. Language formulation. This is building English sentences. So now we're having this language formulation. So your brain puts together English words and grammar to create your response. Advanced learners like yourself build sentences directly in English instead of creating sentences in their native language and then translating them. You're perceiving, your perception, step one. Step two, yes, comprehension. Step three, yes, decision making. Now we have step four, language formulation. Taking those parts that you've put in and comprehended and seen how other native English speakers have used them, and now you're formulating your own response. Only using English. Why is this so important? Reason number one, you use English sentence patterns. Building sentences the English way creates automatic grammar that doesn't need translation from your native language structure. I love this. So you know, hopefully, maybe you don't, I don't teach grammar on my channel. I don't teach it in my academy. Hopefully you'll join my academy. However, my students' grammar improves, and it's because of this. I tell them, listen, you're intelligent. You've learned so many grammar rules. My academy is for intermediate and advanced English learners. So they've learned the basics. They've learned a lot of grammar rules already prior to coming to me. And I tell them, listen, as you're following the 365-day English study plan, you're going to see videos of me speaking with other English speakers. Listen to our patterns. Mimic us. Copy us. And their grammar naturally improves because they formulate their language, their sentences based on what they heard and observed. That's why this is so important. Reason number two, you learn natural word combination. You learn which English words naturally go together, creating automatic phrases that sound natural, not translated. Learning in chunks. I taught you that in a few lessons prior to this one. And number three, you use advanced English style. Direct sentence building lets you use advanced English features like different levels of formality and special expressions that can't be translated effectively. Again, we're going back to this idea, this important idea that translating will limit your fluency. But if you simply use what you've heard, what you've observed, you will sound like a native English speaker. So how can you do this? Again, step four, how can you do this? How can you improve your English sentence building for this language formulation step? Number one, Practice complex English patterns. Work on difficult English structures like embedded clauses and conditional sentences until they become automatic. Focus on patterns your native language does not have. Listen, focus on patterns your native language does not have. I did this when I was studying Korean. I'm telling you, it works. It will help you sound more natural, and it will stop you from thinking in your native language. So much so that you'll be surprised when you start speaking and you're like, wait a minute, I didn't translate. Number 2, here's the second way you can apply this. Application number 2, learn English phrase combinations. Study, I'm leaving that in there. Study how native speakers combine phrasal verbs, prepositions, and idioms naturally. Practice using these combinations smoothly. Practice studying in chunks the phrases that we use. Number 3, practice different English styles. Learn to quickly switch between formal, informal, academic, and casual English in the same conversation. For example, I can switch up to Ebonics to slang real quick as I'm speaking to you. Or I can change my speech to use certain vernacular that will help you understand from a professional standpoint. You can switch back and forth, and you need to practice this. Focus on changing vocabulary and sentence structure. Again, training your brain to think in English, forcing it, pushing it. Number 4, master English organization patterns. Learn English ways of organizing ideas like problem solution or cause and effect. I am a very organized person. I love organizing, again, which is why I organize study plans for my students, and I'd love, again, for you to follow the study plan. I love organizing things. You have to learn how to organize your thoughts like a native English speaker. Also learning persuasion techniques that are specific to English thinking. For example, I teach lessons where you give your idea and you support it with 3 reasons, or you give your idea and you support it with 3 examples. This is thinking and organizing your thoughts in the way a native English speaker would. And number 5, practice fast English speaking. Practice explaining complex ideas in English under time pressure. Hey, give me your thoughts, support in 3 reasons in less than 60 seconds. Practice this. This forces your brain to use English patterns automatically without time to translate. This is so important. I want you to put this into practice. So again, we have our 4 steps. 4 steps to help you finally start thinking in English. My friend, I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Don't forget, if you want to keep studying with me, go to www.speakenglish.com/365plan, and I have a lesson for you each day of the year to take you to the advanced level. I'll talk to you in the next lesson. You still there? You know what time it is. It's story time. Hey, hey, hey. I said it's story time. All right. This is a short story that brings so much joy whenever I think about this story. So, one of my closest friends, we met in South Korea. Her name is Angel Unji. Hi, Angel. I think she might be watching this. She got married. She married actually one of my students. So they're married. They have 2 kids. And she had her kids during COVID. So I wasn't able to see her first son until after COVID was over. So anyways, I went to go visit them. And the youngest was, I think he might have been 6 or 8 months. And then the eldest was, I think, about 2 or 3 years old. So anyways, I went to stay and visit them for about a week and a half in South Korea. And the eldest, so I would play with them a whole lot. And I remember one morning I had left my room at their apartment, and I had my computer out, and I went to go talk to my friend Angel. And the door was open so the kids could go in and out. You know, we didn't care. I didn't care at all. So the eldest had went into my room. It's fine. I'm thinking he's playing on the bed or whatever. And I'm talking to Angel, and all of a sudden it had been at least 3 or 4 minutes, and it was very quiet. Now, if you've ever been around kids, if you have kids, you already know When you have a child that is 2 or 3 years old that has been quiet for an extended period of time, something ain't right. And that was Ebonic. That was slang. Something ain't right. Something's wrong. So I paused. I said, wait a minute, Angel. I'll be right back. So I walked into my bedroom, and the eldest was sitting in my chair at my computer. And I was like, oh. So I called his name, and he turned, and all I saw was lotion all over his hands. And then I looked at the computer, and there was lotion all over my laptop. And I said, oh no. But then he looked at me, and my heart was just warm. He had the biggest smile on his face, and he's like, Titi. He was 3 years old, covered in lotion. My computer was covered in lotion, but he had the biggest smile on his face. And I was like, all right, baby. First, I wanted to make sure he hadn't ingested or like taken in, like, because it was all over his face too. So I picked him up and I took him to my friend, and I was like, hey, just make sure he didn't, it's not like I had lotion on my desk, but he was fine. Then I went back to my computer. It was covered in lotion. So I was able to wipe my computer. The computer was fine. But what I will never forget is him turning around, his hands covered in lotion and his face covered in lotion with the biggest smile saying, Titi, kids will brighten up your day even when the situation is serious. So I will never forget that. Even as he gets older, I'll remind him of the time he covered my computer in lotion and his little face was covered in lotion, but he had the biggest smile on his face. I hope your kids or your nieces, nephews, and your friends' kids have brought you just as much joy as he did that day to me. All right, I will talk to you in the next lesson.